let's just jump right in then. How do you define success?
Probably when you hit a point where the intersection of what you're really, really good at, what you're super passionate about, and where there's market opportunity, where those three things come together, it's like light bulbs just go off and you're like in the zone and you're building something, you're aligned, you're excited about what you're doing. But those three things generally need to kind of all happen in the same time, close proximity, and then finding ways to lean into that, right? Developing what I like to call superpower or your unique ability, right? And then taking it as large as you're willing to dream, right? So for me, ambition's always growing. It's always been something in my DNA. The vision, oh my God, who keeps calling me? Sorry. The vision for building something great keeps growing, meaning like I even kind of surprise myself sometimes on how much can change in just 12 months in terms of where we want to take the company, you know, my life, the businesses that I started, whatever. So I think always being, again, a student of your craft and a student of the world, something my late father taught me, and something that also was, you know, a theme at Syracuse. And I went to NYU for grad school, which is, again, never feeling like you've arrived or made it or you're, you know, fully there, right? So this is a journey, enjoying every part of it, realizing that the destination is going to move, the target's going to shift, right? There's no straight line to success, but I think finding that area where you're doing something you really uniquely enjoy and are passionate about, right? You're really good at, and there's like a need in the world for it. That's probably the best definition of success that I can find, because most people might be lucky to achieve one, maybe two of those, right, in a lifetime, but putting them all together is where you really can create something special.
Do you have any tips on how a person's able to find that?
A lot of trial and error, right? Doing, not just talking and thinking, right? So school is important, but it's one part of it. You got to get out there in the world and be willing to take calculated risks, right? Be willing to fail and learn from it. Be willing to take a chance on an idea, but always be finding ways to kind of what I like to call protect the downside a bit, right? So don't take wild swings for the fences every time, but be willing to take chances and fail forward.
What are the habits that you think you've built, especially for your day-to-day work in general, that you feel have contributed to that definition of success?
I'd say probably my commitment to like just, you know, health and wellness. So I'm a huge like personal development like junkie and health nuts. So like my protocols for just living with great energy, right? Living healthy, what I eat, how I work out, the different kind of what I like to call longevity, right? Or probably heard the term biohacking, bioengineering, is a real big part of my life and who I am. It helps me keep a really high level of energy and focus, and trying to live to be 150. So to do that, you got to be super intentional about how you live, what you put in your body, what you put around you. So, you know, I have a pretty strong routine around that, from things like dialed in, you know, diet and workout, to supplementation, to therapies like NAD plus and IVs, to cold plunging in the morning at 6 a.m. in 40-degree water, which sucks, but it's great for your health and you feel great, to all these other things, right? So like being really intentional about health and wellness, because a lot of people who are successful may have gotten there at the expense of their health and wellness.
And you mentioned lifelong learning. What are some ways that you kind of manifest that in your own life?
Just again, like always being a student, right? So reading up on a lot of stuff. I read probably 60, 70 books a year. I spend for the last decade, I have a 45-minute morning ritual where I read the Wall Street Journal. So I'm staying on top of market news, political news, world events, finger on the pulse. That's been a game changer. You know, really putting myself around best in class people, right? Whether it's in my industry or in an area I want to learn or get better at. So I attend a lot of events, speak at a lot of events. I'm a member of several what we call mastermind groups, which are business peer groups with other entrepreneurs. And we do amazing trips all over the world, and spend time working on our business, our life, getting better in areas of health, wealth, genuine contribution, giving back, right? Leadership, you know, fitness, travel, all these different areas are important. So I think, again, just living with if I had to boil it down to one word, just a level of intentionality. I'm just super intentional about what my vision is, how I want my life to be. And I'm I work really hard to make that a reality.
Let's go back to college life because you said you went to college and then MIU, was that it?
NYU, New York
And,
University.
oh, NYU, okay. So yeah, when you were in college, how was your discipline? Right? Especially I should say your work-life balance.
Not good. At SU, I partied a lot. I was on Marshall Street a lot. I was going to all the bars like Lucy's and Harry's and all those Chucks. A lot of those are probably not even there anymore. So I was definitely not optimized as a human in college. I was definitely partying, probably way too much. But I was having fun. I was trying to, enjoy being 18, 19, 20, 21. But yeah, I think for me, it took a lot of growing up for me to get to where I am. Some people do it sooner than others. Others it takes a lot of time. And for me, it took a while. I didn't actually get serious about life myself, this lifestyle business until I was about 30. So I've only been really dialed in building this lifestyle, this life, these businesses for about 9, 10 years now.
Are there any specific experiences or something that you learned a lot from that contributed to your success?
Um, a lot of things, but I would say the biggest one, and I might as well tell you because the world knows it's out there. My college and then after was non-traditional to say the least. My senior year, I got into a boat accident up in the Adirondacks. I was driving. We were all drinking out at a bar, listening to music, and I thought I was in the best shape out of all of us to get us home. Turns out I wasn't. We got into an accident, and a friend of mine passed away. It was the absolute worst possible event and situation from a bunch of friends thinking they were just having innocent fun to boom, a life's gone and everybody's seriously injured. And I was charged with several felonies. I ended up serving time in prison in my 20s. So that was really, really difficult. And as well as dealing with the guilt of causing my friend's death, ended up serving like almost 4 years. So I got out when I was like 29. So I've been out for 10, 11 years now. So that was definitely, my 20s were not typical. I was either in the courts, serving time, on parole, or rebuilding a life, getting reintegrated to society at 30 years old. As an ex-con on parole, I tried to apply to all these grad schools. I got denied everywhere. Nobody wanted to give me a chance. Was unemployed, living at home, no car, no license, no money, trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my life at 30 years old. And then I just started, to realize that I needed to be an entrepreneur, create my own path, because nobody's going to give me a chance. I wasn't owed anything. I needed to make my way in the world. And I set out to do that. And I committed to a future that was far greater than where I was at the time. And I decided to live also a life of sobriety. So I've been clean and sober for 16, 17 years. That's been also the foundation of my life and fulfillment and I would say success. And then, yeah, I started in an area where I had interest, which was real estate. I was trained in, business entrepreneurship at SU. And I went to get licensed because I thought that was a good place to start. And then I just started as a broker, and everything from there was just building a new opportunity or a new company or taking a calculated risk here or there. And, like I said, it's a zigzag to success. It's not a straight line. And I, ran through a lot of walls. There's a lot of people telling me no. I was denied parole. Again, I was not employable when I got out. I got rejected from every school, but the theme was I never gave up on myself, and I knew I had a chance at a future, and I wasn't just defined by one horrible decision in college. And other people finally started to give me a chance and saw that, actions speak louder than words. And I worked really hard. I put my head down, and just one thing turned to another. One day was better than the last, and just one step in front of the other. And yeah, 9, 10 years later, I'm actually kind of sometimes amazed at what has happened and what's been built and what's you're capable of when you put your mind to something and you commit to a new way of living. I forgave myself finally, and I went through a lot of, again, trauma around this and pain, and created an immense amount for her family. Ended up becoming friends with her mom, and we spoke together, and she helped pass a state law, which I supported in a small way, and that was really unexpected and cool. But yeah, it's been a journey to say the least.
This is maybe a two-part question. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, I guess maybe part one is to your college self, and then part two would be to yourself at age like 30. What would that piece of advice be?
college, it would have been to get my act together and stop just, partying and thinking you're invincible, right? Because that would have avoided this horrible accident and tragedy. So that would be the first piece of advice is like accidents do happen, they can happen, and all it takes is one bad decision, right? And so many, I mean, think about it, right? How many people do you know, right? They've driven drunk. Like it's a problem. I mean, people are doing it left and right every day, every night. And it's a fraction of those that end in horrible tragedies, right? So I think that would be the first thing. And then advice when I was 30 would have been to, figure out where I really wanted to be and what I really wanted to do earlier. But again, that's hard to do because you need experience, like I said earlier, right? Trial and error. You got to test stuff. You got to take risks. You got to fail a little bit. You got to find out where your sweet spot is, what you're good at, passion, market opportunity, right? And that takes time. It doesn't happen in just a year or two. But if I could go back, I would say, yeah, just like, say no to all the distractions. That's one piece of advice. I said yes to a lot of stuff I shouldn't have. I ended up starting like a venture capital backed tech company in COVID. Like that was stupid. I'm not a technologist. I'm not, technical background. I'm a real estate guy. Like that's what I know. I should have stuck to that. So that was a distraction. We probably could have grown a lot quicker, sooner with Weekender had I not done that. But again, we're in a great place. We're, growing quickly, 3 years old, 85 employees, 9 going on 10 hotels, 3 states, against all odds, right? Like raising money and building stuff and being an employer and giving back to our communities and being a host for guests. That is something that's meaningful to me. We're building something that, matters and something that's grown quite a bit in a short amount of time against a lot of those odds. So yeah, I think the only advice I would have said if I was more disciplined to be focused on where I really want to be, right? So you got to have like the end in mind. You got to be really good about defining the destination and then not willing to take your eyes off that, right? And it's hard because we live in a world of a ton of opportunity everywhere and distractions too.